Hi everyone, and welcome to the Mineral Revolution Lesson 6. Today you're going to look at the history of the city of Johannesburg, affectionately known as Josie. Before we begin, let's just get our bearings a bit. If you look at the map of South Africa in front of you, you can see where Kimberley is. Now remember, Kimberley is where all the diamonds were. If you look slightly further up, you can see where Johannesburg is. So it looks like all our precious minerals were more in the center of South Africa and not along the coast. Johannesburg is considered to be a rather large city. But did you know that Johannesburg is only a third of the size of New York? So we would have to take the whole of Joburg and times it by 3 to understand the size of New York City in America. Johannesburg is actually one of the youngest of the world's major cities, and it was only founded in 1886. Following the discovery of gold. The city was initially part of the Transvaal, an independent Afrikaner or Boer republic that later became one of the 4 provinces of South Africa. In the old days, we only had 4 provinces. Today, the city is part of Gauteng, a Sotho word meaning place of gold, which is one of the 9 provinces of South Africa. Johannesburg is situated on the Highveld, the broad grassy plateau that sweeps across the South African interior. The city owes its location to the presence of a precious resource, gold. The city grew on the edge of the Witwatersrand main reef. Most of the gold mines in the city ceased operation in the 1970s, but in its day, the Witwatersrand gold industry accounted for more than 40% of the world's annual gold production. So let's just recap quickly. This large bustling city that we all know about only started in 1886, when gold was discovered by Australian gold prospector George Harrison. So you can just imagine, everyone's in Kimberley looking for diamonds, and suddenly, a little bit further up, they struck gold. So soon tents and wagons appeared, because remember back then they didn't have cars. And then these tents were replaced by wood and iron structures, and again later replaced by brick buildings. So this became like a permanent site. And so a town was demarcated and a large bustling market square. Buildings got taller and taller, and today the city boasts one of the tallest buildings in Africa, the 50-story Carlton Centre, which was built in 1973. The gold rush, just like the diamond rush, saw prospectors from around the world trek up to Witwatersrand. Gold was the backbone of Johannesburg's rapid growth. In time, industries were established, and more people came seeking jobs and a slice of its wealth.
I'm about to go down one of the deepest gold mines in the world on the West Rand, just outside Carletonville. It's called Tautuna, which in Setswana means Great Lion, and it's 3.9 kilometers, nearly 4 kilometers deep.
You know, so much of my life has been spent dealing with migrant workers and miners. They're my friends, the people I dance, sing and play with. I've written songs about mines, and yet strangely, this will be my first experience ever of actually descending into a mine.
Wow. We're traveling at 6 meters per second. There are 3 shafts. We're going down the first shaft, then we're going to go a long ways, then down the second, and then down the third. You experience your ears blocking now. Where's... Where are we now exactly?
We're at 120.57, which is the reef intersection. So this is at the entrance into the stope.
How many meters down are we now?
3,200, 3,300.
3,300 meters.
Mora. Down.
Oh.
Now, Johnny, if you look in there, see that's the reef. That's the gold we're mining. It sits in there, that blackish color with the pebbles in it. That's the reef band.
Yeah, bon pitch. Puja. It's a place of immense intensity and immense focus. It's very hot, it's cramped.
Only a few artists have ever been drawn to the deep gut of the mines. Yet the world down here has shaped some extraordinary and varied art. And now I understand why. It is an extreme environment, as far from nature as you would ever hope to be. The artists who have shown us these deep spaces act almost as reporters, allowing us glimpses into dark, convoluted tunnels, the snaking locomotives and cocoa pans that carry people and rock backwards and forwards, the intensity of the cramped spaces, the minimal light, imminent danger, and excessive heat.
The fascinating thing for me is the seam of gold is 30 centimeters long. And this whole journey has been like following a golden thread all the way. We don't know where it's leading us. And we have geologists and other people to try and predict and help us follow that thread. And that golden thread weaves through the lives of all of these people. Right now, there are 2,500 people at this level, working to make sure that that thread is followed and dominated. Wow, it's so bright out here. That sky is so blue. That's an African sky.
African sky blue, your children wait for the dawn.
Although it can be rather exciting to think that South Africa has contributed to diamonds and gold, there is also a sadness in taking the minerals from the earth. For 130 years, South Africa has been exploiting its gold resources in Johannesburg. There are 278 abandoned mines and 200 mining dumps that contain about 6 billion tons of waste that exist in Johannesburg. For every single gram of gold extracted, 200 kilograms of waste are produced. And this makes one wonder, is it worth it? Inside the city, hills composed of sand debris arise. At first sight, those tall hills appear as part of the natural landscape. However, they are piles of waste produced from the lasting gold mining process. Unfortunately, those piles of rubble contain radioactive waste and heavy metals. The wind can easily transfer the harmful substances to nearby houses, contaminating the residential area of the city, where more than 1.5 million people live. The effects of dust on people include severe coughing and vomiting, while some children have been diagnosed with neurological disorders. Moreover, a percentage of the older children who live near the dumps suffer from asthma. Local people said that the contamination cannot be prevented. Even water used for irrigation is contaminated. And so again we think and we pose the question: economic value versus the lives of people. There's a fine balance between one's economy and one's survival. Although most mining stopped in the 1970s, gold mining still happens in Gauteng, and the province is home to the world's 2 deepest mines, owned by Anglo Gold Ashanti, that extend to depths of almost 4 kilometers below ground. The continual extraction of gold and waste products generated by increasingly deeper mining operations has created a landscape that is strewn with large amounts of mine waste and slime dams. An extensive network of abandoned mine shafts and tunnels exist beneath Johannesburg. Today, these spaces are lost to time, and the equipment, signage, and supports and machinery have been long forgotten and abandoned below the surface of the earth.
Thabo Ngubane recently found this dead pig in his garden. Over the last month, he's buried 22 others. He says they were poisoned by toxic water and dust rising from the mine waste dumps surrounding Johannesburg. This noxious dust poses an inescapable health risk to the local residents of Soweto townships, especially when it's windy.
We clean 4 times, 5 times a day. Sometimes we don't even clean. We sleep there and then we inhale that thing. It kills us.
The legacy of the late 19th century gold rush is more than 200 of these waste dumps contaminated with metals like uranium, arsenic and lead. When it rains, the waste oxidizes on contact with the water, producing an extremely toxic solution. During apartheid in the 1950s, tens of thousands of South Africans were relocated to townships close to the mines. Rose was one of them. She says this dust is the reason she now needs a ventilator to survive.
This is a mine area. We can't put people here. Everybody will be mad at the government. But who do you talk to now? Huh? Who do you talk to? Because if you go to the government will say this. If you go to this one, that nobody wants to be held responsible for this mess. Nobody.
The residents here say little is being done to tackle this problem by the government or the owners of the mine dumps. In this neighbourhood, the most common ailments are related to asthma, eczema and chest problems. Children often play near the waste and swim in pools of toxic water.
In both children and adults, we see the highest levels of lead in the blood of the children who live within 500 metres of the mine tailings dumps, and much lower levels if they live 2 or 3 kilometres away.
A clear link between inflammatory disorders and the contaminated dust is yet to be found, but research has shown that the rate of respiratory and heart diseases is higher in the areas surrounding the waste dumps. Some of the local people have applied for alternative housing in the faint hope of securing a safer future for their children.